The most feared warrior in history, Viking versus Apache. One stormed across Europe with steel and flame. The other haunted the American frontier like a ghost in the dust. One feared no man because he believed he'd feast in Valhalla. The other struck without warning, vanished without trace, and made empires tremble. But if these two legends ever met face to face, who would survive? The Viking or the Apache? Cut to title screen with tribal drums and battle horns. The Viking wasn't just a raider. He was a storm with a name. Born in the brutal cold of Scandinavia between the 8th and 11th centuries, he emerged from a world where survival meant strength, loyalty, and unshakable courage. His longship cut across oceans, his axe broke shields, and his very name Viking struck fear into the hearts of villagers from England to the gates of Constantinople. These warriors didn't just fight, they believed in it. They believed dying in battle wasn't a tragedy, it was a ticket to paradise. A Viking wasn't afraid of death. He wanted it so long as he died with a weapon in hand. Armed with brutal weapons like the Dane axe and round shields reinforced with iron, they fought in formations like the terrifying shield wall, smashing through lines with ruthless efficiency. And if that wasn't enough, they had something else. Berserkers. Warriors so consumed by rage, they'd feel no pain, tear through enemies with animalistic fury, and sometimes fight naked just to prove they feared nothing. Now enter the Apache. Not a soldier in armor, but a master of survival. From the deserts and mountains of the American Southwest, the Apache wasn't built for brute strength, he was built for vanishing. While others marched in columns, the Apache moved like smoke through canyons. Where the Viking came with thunder, the Apache arrived in silence. From a young age, Apache children were trained in endurance. They could run 70 miles a day, barefoot, through harsh terrain. They could go days without water. They learned how to stalk, hide, wait, and kill in silence. Their weapons were lean, efficient. Bows that could pierce at distance, war clubs for close quarters, razor-sharp lances, and tomahawks perfect for ambush strikes. But their greatest weapon, the land itself. Apaches didn't fight you on the land. They turned the land into a weapon. Ask any U.S. cavalry officer from the 1800s. Apache warriors weren't just hard to kill, they were hard to find. Men like Geronimo and Victorio didn't just resist the humiliated modern armies using tactics that predated strategy books by centuries. So how did these warriors view combat? The Viking chased glory. He ran into battle shouting the names of gods. For him, a good death was everything. The idea of honor and face-to-face combat was wired into his bones. He wanted to be seen. He wanted to be remembered. The Apache didn't care about being remembered. He cared about winning. For the Apache, there was no shame in ambush, in retreat, in living to fight another day. He wasn't less brave, he was smarter. He used fear like a scalpel, not a hammer. In short, the Viking wanted to die well. The Apache refused to die at all. Now let's talk steel. The Viking came equipped. Chainmail armor, a heavy shield, a bearded axe that could cleave helmets. Swords that were heirlooms passed down for generations and named like children. But all that weight had a cost. The Viking was powerful, but slower. The Apache traveled light. Leather garments, sandals, and weapons made for hit-and-run warfare. His bow could be fired from horseback. His club was small but deadly. He didn't need to overpower you, he just needed to outthink you. If they fought in a narrow alley or small circle, the Viking has the edge. But if there's space, if there's terrain, the Apache disappears. And once you lose sight of him, it's already too late. Both warriors lived in brutal worlds, but they adapted differently. Vikings learned to navigate icy seas, survive months at sea, and raid foreign lands with almost no supplies. That took coordination, courage, and cold-blooded violence. But Apaches? They didn't just survive the desert, they thrived in it. They could track a footprint days old. Hear a soldier coming from a mile away. Disappear into terrain with no food, no water, and no backup. A Viking might win a battle. An Apache could win a war of attrition without ever needing to face you head-on. So what happens if they meet? Let's say it's neutral ground, a forest midday. The Viking stomps through, axe in hand, shield ready, armor clinking. He knows he's being watched. He wants to be watched. But the Apache has been watching for hours. He's already placed traps. He's already chosen his angle. He's already disappeared behind the next tree. Maybe he strikes from the treetops. Maybe he waits for the Viking to lower his shield for just 1 second. Or maybe he doesn't fight at all, he just wears him down, day after day, until the Viking collapses from exhaustion, never even knowing who killed him. But switch the location, say a snowy battlefield or a raid on a village, and the Viking dominates. He moves with purpose, with unity, his brothers beside him. Blood doesn't slow him, it fuels him. It all comes down to this: where they fight, and when. Fear isn't just about how deadly you are. It's about how long your enemies remember you. Vikings raided Europe so often that kings paid them to go away. Cities were emptied before they arrived. People buried their valuables and fled inland. Meanwhile, the Apache were so terrifying that even when surrounded and outnumbered, they kept fighting and winning. The U.S. military spent decades trying to track them down. Even when captured, Apache leaders escaped. Multiple times. Both warriors lived in their enemies' nightmares. But one used fire and noise, the other silence and shadows. So who was the most feared warrior in history? The Viking was thunder. The Apache was lightning. One crashed through your walls. The other slipped in while you slept. One fought to die gloriously. The other fought so he'd never have to die at all in the end. It's not about who wins in one battle. It's about who never lets you sleep again after you hear their name. So we ask you, Viking or Apache, who do you fear more? Drop your pick in the comments. And if you want more epic warrior showdowns, Spartan versus Samurai, Zulu versus Mongol, let us know.